You're listening to the Fusion Patrol Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Fusion Patrol. I'm Eugene.
And I'm Ben.
And tonight we've got special guest David with us again, and everybody knows what time that means. It's Starlost! Yes!
Hey.
Because we just couldn't torture him enough with only one episode.
Exactly.
Well, tonight we're going to be looking at episode 7. Wow, is it only episode 7? And Circuit of Death. This is an episode that features some electrical people from a dome that decide to blow up the Ark rather than let them suffer and die a long, slow, lingering death. And then when they have a change of heart, which I'd like to say is because they had a change of heart, but in fact is because the escape capsule doesn't work, they then have to try to rush to stop the self-destruct mechanism, and in an unusual fashion. So let's just start with initial reaction, and of course we'll give David first shot at this. What do you think of this episode?
I thought that one was a little average on that one. It started off good in the first few minutes, but after a while, especially when they started doing the saving of the Ark and everything, it just kind of went ridiculous at that point.
Oh, okay. I was about to ask, how do you define average?
Well, he's only done 3 or 4 episodes of Starlost, and they've all been pretty bad.
That's why I wanted to know, how do you define average?
What did you think of it, Ben?
I remember when I saw this episode as a kid, and I remember as a kid, and I thought it was that the concept was really far out. I watched it this last time, and I thought, oh, you've got to be joking.
You know, years before there was Tron, there was Circuit of Death.
Mm-hmm.
Although this is really just a rip-off of...
It's fantastic. The Fantastic
Voyage.
Voyage.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yes, except inside circuits instead of a person. In the most unrealistically realized miniature circuit set ever.
Well, even very, very bad science as well.
Yes, it's all done through telekinesis.
Yeah, which...
The miniaturization is just a convenient visualization.
Yeah. For whose benefit?
I guess for the people... I'm assuming that means for them to be able to visualize what they're doing. It's like, I'm using my hands to move the little wire kind of thing, and then that's really just a visualization of them telekinetically. But
yeah, it's like little avatars of sorts.
Yes. And,
but, oh, God, there's this... Yeah, but immediately this episode is just fraught with problems once you go down that road.
Yes. So
Eugene, what did you think of this episode?
I thought it was mind-numbingly awful. So I'll go so far as to put it into the awful category. I was distracted by the poor acting on the part of the daughter Valerie, who went through the whole episode in a sort of, oh, but I don't know, is this really the way I want to do things? Kind of, oh, Father, do we really want to blow up the Ark just because, whatever? So
is that really much different than most of the acting we get in all the episodes?
No, but compared to her, Devin and Garth were actually
action
positively, Shakespearean in their breadth and scope compared to her action. The father wasn't too bad, but even he...
he's an actor I recognize from some stuff.
Well, is that the same actor who played Richard Daystrom in...
No, but he played Commodore Stone in Court Martial.
Oh, yes, that's Commodore Stone. Okay. Well, he reminds me of Daystrom from the Ultimate Computer.
Yeah, his name is Percy Rodriguez, and he was Commodore Stone in Court Martial. He played Prius Kimbridge in Gene Roddenberry's Genesis 2, Oboro in the TV series Planet of the Apes, etc. Yeah, very well-established actor.
That's one thing about this show. They keep getting people who've had lots of roles as their guests, like last week's Simon Oakland, and just, I don't know. That must be what they spent their budget on or something. They're not big-name actors, but they're
working actors.
They're jobbing actors that you've seen in a lot of things. Another thing
and not bad at working actors either.
No.
They're actually good working actors. Unfortunately, they just come into shows where they turn out a bad performance.
And this show seems to have the ability to bring out the worst performance in people. It's just everything is the pacing, and what a lot of padding in this episode. Tons of padding, and the music was like listening to wind chimes. It's just like doom, 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 and it just kept going on and on. It fit with the girls acting, but
I think I tried to block it out.
I cannot block things like that out. That's just well. So let's just recap little bits of it as we go through here and make some fun of bits of it. This technician Richards and his daughter Valerie come to the bridge, and they see that the bridge has been cleaned up of the dead bodies, which means, of course, they know about the dead bodies, knew about the crisis on the bridge, and have correctly ascertained that somebody's been there, and why the heck would anybody bother to come to the bridge, which is a very fatalistic attitude. I mean...
Well, there's a lot of fatalistic attitude in this.
And they're there for nefarious purposes. They're there to bypass the fail-safe systems on the Ark's self-destruct system and destroy the Ark. And the only thing we really get out of this is that the dome they come from, Alpha 5, is biodegrading. And he doesn't like the political system they operate under. And between those two things, well, it's just better to kill everybody than it is to let them have a slow, lingering death over a course of several hundred years. Which, of course, means that no one he knows will actually die because of the slow, lingering death. So, yeah, it's a very stupid, fatalistic attitude, too. But that's his plan. He breaks in, he activates, or he bypasses the failsafes, but our heroes hear the alarm and come to investigate. And they've got new costumes.
Yes.
Very spacey.
Very spacey.
Very, very Lost in Space first few episodes. The big silver jumpsuits with the stripes and patches and stuff. It's all very mystifying why they would do that.
Yeah, it's almost like we missed an adventure at some point, except episodically we watched them in order. So.
Yeah, well, it's fine with me that characters change their clothes. I think that shows a certain, grasp of reality that's too often missing in shows like this. But it just seemed out of place that they would suddenly be in different clothes. But there you go. That's the best. That's the best I could come up with about our heroes, is they've got new shiny clothes today. It's a weird comment he made about how big the explosion would be if the Ark blew up. 108 miles by 86 miles wide.
Oh.
Well, I'm glad somebody knows that. Just kind of a strange comment to make, along with some really bad... There's so much padding in this episode. I mean, the story is, he dupes Devin and Rachel to help him load supplies on the escape capsule because his daughter's a bit of an invalid, and then they get in the capsule and lock themselves in and are going to launch themselves and detonate the Ark. If only the capsule's auto launch mechanism didn't fail. So here's one that's weird. He tries to get out of the capsule, and the computer informs him that it is impossible to open the capsule from the inside as long as the self-destruct mechanism is running. Alright, fine, sort of. But then it goes on to inform him, but it can be opened from the outside. Now, if you think about that, in any kind of disaster scenario, you're running into your bunker to avoid the atomic war. How exactly do you want that door to work? I want it to work from the inside and not work from the outside.
Well, this is more of their backwards thinking. I mean, this goes back to
Obviously, it's Microsoft Active Directory. Oops, sorry, that's just a little bit of personal commentary there. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, we've seen this kind of backwards thinking before, like in the Goddess Calabra, where you have Devon and Garth that are locked inside that room, and yet the panel to complete the jury rig, it's inside the room.
Oh, that was the one with the kids on the bridge, but yeah.
Was it the kids on the bridge?
Yeah, the Goddess Calabra is the one where they used fruit and the
Oh, that's right.
starch.
Oh, God. Sorry, the problem is that, some of these episodes are so bad that they kind of blur together.
It's funny, we thought of the Goddess Calabra while watching this one, because when Rachel's face is hovering over them in the microcircuit, it's like, Devon looks like he's worshiping there for a little bit, looking up at her with this kind of look on his face. But that could have just been, he might have been trying to act, I'm not sure, at that point. But anyhow, so they can't get off the ship, so now they feel that they'll try to rescue the ship, and they use this telekinetic micro-miniaturization to go into the most unconvincing miniature set ever seen before, which had these great big IC chips right out of the 1970s stuck down in circuit boards. And using little wires, they have to run around and cross-connect things to save the day. Plus, there's the added element of you have to jump across the circuits, otherwise you short them out, and you can get...
Why do you have to jump across the circuits if you are really just exercising telekinesis? You're not really touching anything.
Hadn't thought of that. Very good point. Very good point. It's just a visualization metaphor. So, can telekinetic energy conduct electricity? Obviously it can, because the little miniaturized body of the guy, when he falls on the circuit, is loading the circuit down. So it does conduct electricity.
Now, do old circuit boards like that in the 70s have black and white stripes? So it's...
Yes, they look like giant Lego bricks.
It looked like that, okay.
They did not. They were ugly green, and they didn't have walkways on them. But, it could be in the future they designed them that way so you could walk on them. Because they're still using 1970s IC chips. But that's just a failure of vision on the designer's part.
I was impressed, though, that they actually did... I mean, yes, it didn't look like a good set, but that they actually did build a set and didn't superimpose them like a lot of the old 70s sci-fi stuff would have done.
Amazingly enough, for this show, because they are very big on using green screen, because they didn't have...
They didn't have the tech... Well, they wanted to do it on the cheap.
Yeah.
Actually, they were using blue screen, which looked even worse.
But the set itself was a physical set. I mean, it was blue screen when the girls were looking through from above, but it was a physical set that they were hopping around on and playing hopscotch. Meanwhile, did you notice at one point? So the self-destruct mechanism bypassed, and they go onto the ship, and the ship fails, so they decide to shut it down, and the only way to do that is to miniaturize Devon and Richards, and they go down in to do the work, and you've got 15 minutes, and they go away to a commercial break, and when they come back, it's the worst ever example I've ever seen of a TV show of them recapping what's going on, with Garth talking to Rachel. So they tried to set the failsafe mechanism, but they failed, and then they used the capsule, but they couldn't get out, so they've decided to fix the circuit, but the only way to do it is to miniaturize Devon, and right now he and them are in there trying to fix this circuit.
Yeah, that's for that was for people with scorecards.
Yeah, that was really bad recap, but I think they had some time to kill. And then, because that 15-minute segment at the end, where they had the 15-minute, took 30 of the episode. And
time dilation.
Yes, and at one point, 3 or 4 minutes went by in real time, and it was, what was it, 16 seconds? I think in the countdown time.
Something like that.
I stopped counting.
It was getting worse the further you went into the episode. It just kept getting worse and worse and worse. I think they went away for a commercial break and they lost 4 minutes, and then 5 minutes later they'd only lost 2 minutes. So it was Somebody ought to write these things out, time out the scene, figure how long the scene takes, and then go back and change the time in the script so that it matches what they're doing.
That would require logic and thought.
I've never seen a show do that yet. And the funny thing is that almost invariably a TV or movie script is 1 minute a page. So they should at least be able to get close. To say, well, we're in here and we've got 7 pages, so let's set her at 7 minutes and go from there. But they never do that. Never do that.
But there is a fact here in this particular script of they had to keep stopping for a time check. It's like, what's going on with that? You only got a few minutes. Just get it done. Don't worry about it.
That's right. They kept saying things like, all right, we need to go get that circuit taken and we just don't have time. But wait, first, Rachel, give me a time check. Rachel looking at clock. 4 minutes, 27 seconds. Back to the guy. We've only got 4 minutes, 27 seconds. All right, now we can go ahead.
The other thing that really bothered me, of course, I'm sort of jumping to the end a little bit here.
That's okay.
But when they do the miniaturization, one of the first things that Richards tells Devin is that this is going to be harder than I thought, basically. And yet, I watched very carefully all the connections that they're doing, and Richards' misstep notwithstanding,
Yes.
That was the easiest cross-connecting I've ever seen done. I mean, forget the science, but that's all you really need to do in order to defeat this?
You count the dots out from the spot, plug a wire in, then plug a wire into another spot, and you do that 4 times.
Yeah, you're done.
It was enormously... they were going enormously slow for something that seemed so trivially simple. Even if you had to count twice. It's like, okay, it's 7 dots up from the IC. Okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right, Devin, you count it. Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Do we concur? Yes, let's do it one more time. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, same one. Okay, plug her in. I mean, even if they did that, it would have been much, much, much faster than what they were doing.
They would have had the whole thing done in just minutes.
They could have done that in 3 minutes, but instead they spend a lot of time talking about the folly of deciding that the biospheres are not viable and that the only way is to blow it up, and Devin's way is to get people together and help and solve the problems and fix the Ark and stuff like that. Beat the drum and move on, and in the end the old man still doesn't agree.
No.
And I mean, his dying thing is, I'm still right, but I'll give you guys a chance to try anyway.
What is it with these scientists who maintain that they're always right and damn everybody else?
Frankenstein. It's still Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
It's Mary Shelley, damn her.
Yeah.
I'm still pissed about that.
She's still punished. She's still being punished for this.
So, and then there was another segment where they came up and Richards falls on a circuit, and notwithstanding him being a telekinetic avatar, he's loading the circuit, and they have to boost the power to keep everything stable. And the computer says, in its typical voice, we can only keep it at overload levels for 6 minutes. And it's like, oh, you've got to hurry. You can only keep it at overload levels for 6 minutes. All right, Rachel, time check till detonation. 5 minutes, 25 seconds. Well, who cares what your overload time is?
It doesn't matter at this point.
It doesn't matter, and yet they still seem worried about it, even after they did the time check. It's like, well, that's 30 seconds longer than infinity, so who cares? The other thing they did was Devin, or not Devin, the other guy, long hair.
Yeah.
Garth,
yes. He, to kill some time, he's talking to Rachel, and he says, I need to find out more about this Richards guy. And so he goes, there's got to be a sphere projector around here somewhere.
Yeah, he goes to have a confab with the computer.
Well, think about that for a second. This is the bridge. They've been to the bridge. They've used the sphere projectors on the bridge. They've cleaned up the dead bodies on the bridge.
Go and use it on the bridge.
And then he's like, there's got to be one around here somewhere. Like he's never been there before. So he finds one, and now this is the part that really bothered me. The sphere projector gave him quite the detailed history of Alpha 5 Biodome. The Freedom Party and the Control Party?
Yeah.
I think it's the Freedom and the Control Party. No, it was the... Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's not the Freedom Party. But the Control Party are obviously the fascists, and the other party were the pro-democracy people and scientists. And slowly they lost their power because they gave the control people their control, and so the scientist doesn't want to live in that. And the sphere projector has this whole story for him. And in fact, it even knows all about Richards, who he is, what class technician he is, that he was the president of the whatever party it was, the Freedom Party, that he was deposed, that he's a bitter old man, he was locked up for having rebel political views. It's got all that information.
Where did he get it?
Where did it get it? And why is it that when they ask the same sphere projector, what happened then with the Ark, it says, oh, insert the next tape. And so, does the sphere projector have a good... is monitoring what's going on, or not?
It just has a really good tape regarding Alpha 5.
Yeah, and obviously up to the modern time. And the other thing, of course, the people of Alpha 5, or at least Richards, and it sounds like the people of Alpha 5, know the predicament the Ark's in.
Yeah, Richards clearly knew, and it was implied that everybody else there knew, but they just...
they're too concerned about their political squabbles to give a crap.
Which I found totally unbelievable.
That's the big one. Again and again, unbelievable that faced with an imminent certain destruction, these petty political people won't even take this. I mean, this is not like... Oh, this is a terrible analogy, but I'll use it anyway because I like that stuff. This is not like global warming where there's the
denial?
Yes, there's a denial facet in politics there that are, struggling in political power. It seems to me like this one would be a lot more...
this is more cut and dry.
Cut and dried. Maybe they've turned it into something that isn't cut and dried. Oh, that Richards, he's all wrong. It's not gonna... I don't know. But it just seemed very unrealistic to believe that they would be.
But even if that were the case, there are clearly other scientists that were of the same mind as Richard. Okay, so you don't like what's going on in Alpha 5. Get your little group of friends together and go out and do something instead of just, oh, woe is me, let's blow up the Ark.
That has got to be the single worst rationalization for blowing up the Ark. And then, of course, he's going to escape with his daughter, too.
And so where are you going to go?
Didn't he explain something about the escape capsule will program you to find the nearest habitable planet? Something like that?
If that's the case, then why don't you program the Ark to go to that same nearest habitable planet?
Why didn't the Ark land on any of these nearest habitable planets?
Precisely. So that, there again, total nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah, something else we forgot to mention earlier is there was actually another character in the show that's there to arrest Richards for everything he's been doing.
Oh, Valerie's boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah, who's a member of the Control Party.
Yep.
And I like that name, the Control Party. I should start my own fascist dictatorship party by name the Control Party. No one would suspect that that's what it's all about.
Oh, no, of course not.
No. Yeah, and he's got, nothing to do.
Nope.
In the episode at all. He just shows up. I'm going to arrest you, Richards. Richards, haha, we're going to blow up in 15 minutes. Right. And then, I guess apart from the hope that Valerie will be able to go back to her people and with her friend from the Control Party, they can make a difference. But, of course, the end of the episode sees Devon lamenting, and Garth, lamenting the loss of Richards, a technician who obviously knew what he was doing, and it's really a shame that we lost him. Oh, he did have to sacrifice his life, by the way, to save the day, making the last connection. And lamenting his loss, and he's like, he really could have helped out with the Ark. Oh well. Once again, what about the people in Alpha 5?
Precisely.
If the Ark knows all about the technicians, there must be another technician in Alpha 5. But no, are we going to bother with them? Of course not. It's another sad, sad episode of the Starlost. Anything in it you particularly liked, David?
No, nothing really stuck out. Like I said, the first few minutes seemed more exciting because it was actually focusing on Richards and his daughter. And I thought, hey, this is a little bit different. We had a, better quality actor, and thought he was going to sit up. But once they did the miniaturization, like I said, it just got ridiculous after that.
Ben, anything you liked in the episode?
Not one thing. There was not one redeeming quality. Okay, well, all right, maybe the presence of Percy Rodriguez as Dr. Richards, but if you want to talk about the story itself, there's nothing to redeem it at all. It's a bad premise, and the solution is badly executed. It's just bad from top to bottom.
You didn't like all the colors when we went into the telekinesis?
Padding.
Yeah, I mean, they
on and on.
They
do it twice, if not 3 times.
Well, Garth
do
went
it
in
twice.
later.
That's right. Yeah, they do it twice. Once for Devon and Richards, and the second time for Garth. And that's another thing that really bothered me. When we would see the little avatars, and they'd be conversing normally, but then every time you jump to the control chairs that they were sitting in, they spoke like zombies or something.
Yes, they spoke through their bodies when they were in their world, and they get heard through their bodies.
Like this is how they communicate. Oh, please!
But not everything they said came through their bodies. So sometimes they were talking to each other without talking through their bodies. It wasn't consistent. And they also had they have these suits they put on. Just happened to be 3 of them, 3 chairs and 3 suits. And in the course of the episode, they needed 3 people down there. And they put the suit on, and you put the suit on, and you button it up, right? And then another person pushes the red button on your sleeve, and you're converted into the circuitry. And the daughter Valerie did that for Devon and Richards. And then she has a seizure, because that's her invalidedness.
She's epileptic.
And so she's incapacitated, and they need Garth to come in, and they're like, Can you send Garth in, Rachel? Yes, I think so. I saw how it was done the last time.
I know.
1 button. It's like, push red button on sleeve, you're miniaturized. Then later on, when they want to bring her out, or when they want to bring them out, it's like, can you bring them out, Rachel? I don't know how. I've never seen somebody do that. I'm thinking Richards could say, press the green button, or whatever it happened to be, but it wasn't particularly complicated, and Rachel did not rise to it very well. But fortunately, just before Richards dies, he says, okay, Rachel, very important. After I've broken this circuit, instruct the computer with command 11100001101. Gold priority. Tell the computer that there are no gold ranking members and to bypass the failsafe system or the self-destruct system permanently. Like she's gonna. I'm not sure I got that number right, but it's close.
What was Richard's change of heart to want to do that, though?
I don't know. I mean, obviously he's letting his daughter live. And if somebody else comes along and blows the Ark up later because he disabled the failsafes, that would kill her. It's the only thing I can think of.
I don't know. I have no idea. I can't think of a single good reason as to why he would have this big change of heart. I mean,
and I can't think of a good reason, based on all the discussion, based on the change of heart, or based on what Devon tells him and what he finally does and sacrifices his life. I found it unconvincing that his final things would be, well, I'm still right. It just didn't seem right. You know, he's now turned around to sacrifice his life to give them a chance to live instead of die, and yet he's still saying, but you're all going to suffer miserably, and it'd be better if you just kill yourselves now. Didn't quite...
It doesn't ring true.
Doesn't ring true. And I'm going to say I can't think... I agree with Ben. I don't think there was anything redeemable in this episode. But at the same time, it still wasn't as bad as episodes of Man from Atlantis.
No.
So...
I actually like... Well, I'm not going to say that I liked it better, but I didn't hate it as much as The Goddess Calabra.
This is an extremely mediocre episode. It's just filler on the screen. Anything else in this? I don't think I have anything...
It is better than Naked Capulet.
Yes, it is.
Naked Montague?
I'm sorry, yes, Naked Montague. Whatever.
That's right. The Naked Capulet was the porn version of the Man from Atlantis film. Have we got anything else to say about this startling example of Canadian television?
Got nothing.
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. This was as was pointed out, this was sort of an homage to Asimov's Fantastic Voyage, but boy, was it done badly.
Yes, it was. Well, then I guess we'll leave everyone mercifully short episode again, and say we will be back in about approximately a week's time with our next episode on Doomwatch. And I want to take a moment to thank David for once again suffering through Starlost.
Well, thanks for having me back again.
You're suffering for your art.
Yes.
And we hope you can all join us on our forums at fusionpatrol.com. Send us some feedback. Have you recently watched this episode of Starlost and thought, that was the coolest thing I've ever seen since Arc 2? Or Jason of Star Command. You can contact us and send us feedback at feedback@fusionpatrol.com. We take written feedback, audio feedback. We'll take any kind of feedback. Or find us on Facebook. Or join us again next time on Fusion Patrol.
Cheers.
You've been listening to the Fusion Patrol Podcast, a production of Lone Locust Productions. Join us on our new discussion forums at fusionpatrol.com. Find us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter, username Fusion Patrol. You can also send us feedback by email at feedback@fusionpatrol.com. If you'd like to support Fusion Patrol, please leave us a review on iTunes. Fusion Patrol's theme music is Fight the Future by Amberwolf.